Hello and welcome to Fast Horses Today for the start of the race week over at Santa Anita, October 3rd, Friday. We've got a early pick 5 that I like and a couple win bets to make on the card. So let's get started at Santa Anita. Get started in the first race. First race does have an approximate post time at 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, so 3 o'clock here in the Central Time Zone. We're going to start out with a maiden special weight race. These are fillies, 2-year-olds, mile on the grass. So maybe some potential nice horses here, some potential stars. We will see. I'm going to put 3 horses in this first race to get this pick 5 started. Going to go with the 4-horse, was Latte Love for Doug O'Neill. Doug O'Neill's got a couple in here. I'm going to put both O'Neills, but I'm going to put the 4, Latte Love, 10-1. O'Neill trains a horse. Jamuro is the jock here today. Now, Latte Love has the benefit of running over at Del Mar one time. It was in a 5.5 furlong dirt race, and I think that race was just pretty much just to get her feet wet. She ended up running with a really nice horse, an Explorer. I think Explorer is going to probably end up being the favorite in the Oak Leaf over the weekend for Bob Baffert, one of the many big horses that Baffert unveiled there at the Del Mar meet. So, it looked like a live race that Latte Love came out of. As I mentioned, Explorer, who's probably going to be the favorite in that Oak Leaf. And then she also ran with Rivera. Rivera ended up winning her next start. So, looks like a live race. I don't know that this horse wanted to sprint on a dirt. She seems to be bred for more of a distance here. And, she'll get that distance running on the grass. The grass shouldn't be a problem. Being by constitution, out of a Ghost Sapper mare, that should save, grass for us here. And, I just thought she ran just an even race. It was, like I said, I think it was just a race to get her over the track. Jamuro has done some nice work on turf racing, since he's made the move over to Southern California. Seems like he does well on turf races. I think he does better there than he does with dirt. So we'll give this horse a shot, the 4-horse Latte Love. Going to put the 6-horse. 6-horse is the favorite, Hypergamy. Hypergamy also for Doug O'Neill. As I mentioned, he's got 2 here. Hypergamy has had 2 starts over at the Del Mar meet, and she ran both of them on the grass. She ran a grass sprint, which she ran really nicely, ended up coming second that day in the 5 furlong grass sprint. Followed that up with a really nice effort in the juvenile fillies turf race over there at Del Mar. That's a $100,000 stake race. So it was her first time at a mile. She ended up running a nice race. She took the lead at the top of the stretch and then just, got beat by a couple. We'll forgive her for that. Those were winners. Those seem to be some nice horses. Hypergamy, certainly looks like a nice horse herself. She's 8-5 in the program. We will put her in there. And then finally, I will put the 10, who is Yurok. Yurok is out of the John Sadler barn, Hector Barrios. Sadler and Barrios did a lot of nice work in the summer with 2-year-olds. Certainly paired up for quite a few wins. This girl had run one time on the turf, being at a mile. She ended up losing on the wire. And, certainly no shame in that. It was her first time running, first time on the turf, first time running 2 turns. This horse by Tappet out of a mare Yaki Way. And, there's a couple winners in that Yaki Way bloodline there. I don't remember offhand the names, but it seems to be a winning family there. And, this horse ended up costing $850,000. In fact, that actually she was $950,000. So, almost $1 million purchase here. Yurok, if she draws in, she's on the also eligible as the 10 horse. If she draws in, I think she'll be very tough. So, in the first leg, we're going to put the 4, 6, and 10. All right, now let's move over to the second leg of the day. Second leg is a 6 furlong dirt race. These are claiming $10,000 horses, non-winners of 3 lifetime. And these are 3-year-olds and up. So condition claimers. I do have a single here, as well as I'm going to make a win bet, that being on the 2, Invincible. Invincible for Ryan Hansen. Tyler Bass takes the call. Now Hansen brings this horse over to Santa Anita off the claim. This horse was really popular in the claim box over the last several months, having been claimed 3 times, twice for $30,000, and then in her last she was claimed for $25,000 by Hansen. So I think people are probably taking a shot. This horse, at one time was a big purchase, a $375,000 horse he was, and didn't live up to those expectations there. But I don't see this as a panic drop. I see this as just being realistic. This horse has been running just some even races, some okay races. The drop here to 10,000 isn't that big of a drop, actually. There are several in here that have come out of similar races for those 25, and they're now running for 10. So again, I don't think this is a panic drop. I think it's the kind of thing where Hansen claimed this horse back in the summer. He's had this horse now for a couple months. get this horse out there, maybe get a win. If somebody wants to claim him for 10 and the horse wins, they're not out too much money there. It's almost a wash. But anyway, I just think it's a realistic spot here. Invincible has done some nice running on the dirt, nice running at Santa Anita as well. I mean, if you go back to the springtime, it was back in March. This horse ended up running a pretty huge race, coming second to Awesome Rhythm. And Awesome Rhythm got really, really good at Del Mar back in the summer. So, this horse, if the horse runs any type of similar race like that March 14th race, boy, this would be a really, easy win. And then I also like the horse's last race, that coming back in July. It was like opening day of Del Mar. The horse ended up running a nice race on the dirt. For whatever reason, the connections of this horse previously had been running this horse on the turf more so, which looks like to me this horse does like dirt, gets dirt today. Tyler Bays, certainly a good rider with speed horses up close. I think Invincible can get it done here at 3-1. So I'm going to put this horse in for the single for the pick 5, as well as we'll make a win bet in the second race on Invincible. All right, now let's move over to the third race of the day. Third race is a $40,000 claiming race. This is 6 furlongs on the grass. That's the flat grass there. And these are 3-year-olds only. So $40,000, it's one of those things I kind of wonder if we'll see any horses getting claimed out of this race for 40. But, it remains to be seen. Now, this is, 3-year-olds and up, not just 3-year-olds only. 3-year-olds and up. I've got 2 horses I'm going to put here. I'm going to put the 2 horse with Daniel's Magic. Craig DeLassy has this horse now. Ayuso takes the call. DeLassy's done some nice work over the last, month to 6 weeks. He's winning some races. His barn has gotten hot. This horse, he had claimed this horse from Owen Hardy back in the summertime over at Santa Anita for $50,000. So, the horse ran a couple times after that. I don't know that they're, thrilled with the results that they've gotten here, but looks to me like this horse drops into a nice spot. This horse does like the Santa Anita grass, having had, quite a bit of his experience and quite a bit of his damage being done on the Santa Anita grass, as well as this distance as well. So it seems like this horse fits very nicely here for the $40,000. Ayuso fits the horse very nicely. Ayuso's been riding really well. 7-2, I think Daniel's Magic is going to be live here in this $40,000 claimer. And then I am going to put the 5 horse, who is Proof He Rides, for Sean McCarthy and Kyle Frey. Now, this is a Calbred. It's horse by Idiot Proof, which I've always liked the Idiot Proof horses. I think it's such an underutilized stallion in California. But Proof He Rides has certainly done nice work over the grass. Has just a limited record at Santa Anita, having 2 starts at Santa Anita on the grass, a win and a second. So, certainly has done some nice work there. Looks like this horse, for whatever reason, had been running over at Del Mar quite a bit more lately. It certainly does like that Del Mar grass, having shown some nice races there on the Del Mar sprint. So, just a matter of, is this horse going to like the 6 furlong on the grass at Santa Anita? It would seem so. This horse has won at 6 furlongs on the grass at Santa Anita. It was in a starter allowance race. I don't know that this race is that much tougher than a starter allowance that he won back last year. The last time we saw Proof He Rides, was in a Del Mar 5 furlong sprint in a pretty tough race, won by Yellow Card. Yellow Card almost won the Eddie D last week. So I would forgive this horse, running a, not so good race, Proof He Rides. And that last time out, that was a tougher race. It was a non-winner of 2 allowance or eligible for 80,000 claims. So you get some really tough horses there. He's run against some couple tough horses at Del Mar. Booksmart being the other horse was pretty tough too. So I think this dip in class really should move up Proof He Rides. 9-2. Kyle Frey fits this horse very well. He's done some good work with Proof He Rides. So we'll put the 2 and the 5 there in the third race. Let's move on to the fourth race of the day. Fourth race is a 6.5 dirt affair. This is a first level allowance, Calbred allowance. These are for 2-year-olds. So, pretty cool. They were able to field a first level allowance race for 2-year-olds. I have a single here. We're going to give this horse one more chance here and see if she's good enough. That is the 6 horse, Liberation. Liberation is 4-5 in the program for John Sadler. Juan Hernandez takes the call today. Now, Liberation was involved with one of the more controversial races back at the Del Mar meet. This horse ran in the CTBA. She was a big favorite that day at about 1-2. Out of the gate, there was a lot of bumping there. This race ended up being won by My Love Caroline. My Love Caroline ended up getting DQ'd for, I don't know, whatever reason. The stewards were having a pretty bad meet there. This is one of the examples there. But, that day, Liberation having that tough start really kind of took her out of that race, and, she ended up finishing 4th. So, she followed that up with, I don't know, it's kind of a head-scratching effort in the generous portion. She was a favorite again that day because people saw how good Liberation can be. And, she was about even money or so, maybe 6-5 that day. Freystu ended up taking the horse out to a pretty fast lead and blazing early, and she just, ended up falling apart, ended up finishing third. So, I don't know. It looks to me like the Sadler barn wasn't too happy with that ride. They've switched jocks. Freystu's not on the horse anymore. Hernandez takes the call. First time Hernandez is certainly never a bad thing. I don't have to look too far here or too deep to take Liberation at 4-5. We'll give her a chance here. We'll single her in the fourth race in that early pick 5. Now we're going to go to the fifth race of the day. The fifth race will cap off that early pick 5, and then it also starts the late pick 5. But, we want to cap off this early pick 5. We can hit our singles, maybe get a couple prices. I've got 6 horses I'm going to put in here. I think it's kind of an open race. This is a 1.8 miles on the grass. $25,000 claimers, non-winners of 2 lifetimes. They're condition claimers. So, again, I think it's open. I'm putting 6 horses here in coverage, hoping we got some nice will pays here, and we can go from there. I'm going to put the 1 horse who was Blue Oasis for Tim Yakteen. Jeremy Laprida takes the call here. Now, Laprida has ridden this horse in her last few starts, has ridden her well. I'm not a big Laprida fan. He doesn't win all that often. He's gotten beat on this horse the last 3 times she's finished second with him. But you know what? This isn't that tough of a race. This horse gets an easy lead, you never know, could end up taking them the distance. We'll put the 1 horse Blue Oasis. Gonna put the 4 horse being Hey Demps from Mark Glatt, Kent DeSormo. This will probably be your favorite. This horse is 5-2 in the program. DeSormo has ridden this horse the last couple times. It is a Calbred, has won on the grass at Santa Anita. It just, this, as I mentioned, is an even race. I'm putting horses in, try to get that pick 5 covered with several horses. Hey Demps could certainly win this race. We also see a lot of head-scratching efforts by Kent DeSormo and maybe gets his horse beat too. So I would not single Hey Demps. Going to put the 5 horse, who is Lady of Power, for Mike Pipey, Kazushi Kimura, on the horse here. Now this horse is a lightly raced 4-year-old. This horse certainly bred for the turf, being by Hardspun. Hasn't really done anything on the turf yet, being 1 for 6 in the lifetime, having a win on a synthetic track. So, Mike Pipey claimed this horse from Peter Miller. This horse is 6-1. We'll put this horse in here. As I mentioned, open race. Lady of Power might come up and win this here. Had run with better in her lifetime, so maybe there's a little softer class here and could get up here at a 6-1 price. We'll take that if we're live. Going to put the 6 horse Tavalara for Carla Gaines. Ricardo Gonzalez on the horse here. This horse does have a win over the Santa Anita grass, so certainly likes it there. Carla Gaines always is dangerous, certainly on the grass races. And, second off a layoff is a good angle for Carla Gaines as well. This horse is 8-1. As I mentioned, open race. I think, any of these horses can come up and bite you, so we want to try and get this covered here. At 8-1, we'll take Tavalera, if we can get it at 8-1. Going to also put the 7, who is No Other Like You, for Doug O'Neill. Doug O'Neill seems to have some live horses today. Tyler Bay's on the horse, so Tyler Bay's, I think, has some live ones too. This is 10-1 here. Now, this horse certainly had been running with better. O'Neill got this horse from the J.K. Sweezy barn. So, Sweezy, showed up to Del Mar with a trailer full of horses and left with a lot less. So, it probably was his goal is to bring some horses over, get them claimed, get them purchased. This horse ended up in the Doug O'Neill barn now. This horse has run some good races at Gulfstream on the turf there. The Gulfstream Park turf is a fast course, kind of equates to what they do in Southern California as well. So I think those races there and those speed figures do fit here in Southern California. 10-1 on No Other Like You. We'll put her in there. And then finally, we will put the program favorite, being Miss Brightside for Phil D'Amato and Umberto Rispoli. I could definitely see why this horse is the favorite, having some class advantage here. But, there's question marks for her too. She's had 8 starts over at Santa Anita on the turf, hasn't gotten it done yet. So, 9-5. I don't know why this horse is so short, but we'll see if Rispoli ends up, giving this horse a great trip. I don't want to get kicked out, by this horse here in the last race. So we've got the 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, now let's move over to the sixth race. Sixth race, I do have another win bet, and that'll be the last bet of the day here. Sixth race, this is a mile on the dirt, maiden $20,000 claiming race. So these are 3-year-olds and up, and you've got horses here, have probably had some bigger expectations. They end up here, like a horse like the 4 Bally Hooligan. Not Doug O'Neill, but Mark Glatt's given up pretty quickly on this horse. This will probably be your favorite. This horse has had 2 starts on the dirt there at Del Mar in the special weight ranks, has run some just kind of even races, but they're pulling the plug here. I'm not going to go with this horse. 5-2 or less, you could take it. I do have a horse here that I do like. I think is going to be a bit of a price, and I think will be a nice win bet. That being the 10 horse, Joser for the Peter Miller barn. Now Peter Miller drops this horse in for 20. Aguilar's on the horse here. Now Aguilar's done some nice work with Peter Miller over the last several months. This horse has been running in maiden claiming races. So this horse has been running for 50,000 on the turf side. Those are the lowest that they go there in Southern California is 50,000 claimers, on the turf there. So this horse has run some nice races, has run with some horses that, just look to be better than this field. And, the drop to 20, I don't see that as a panic drop. This horse has been running and claiming, so they're probably just getting realistic here. So, if this horse translates his turf races to dirt, I think this horse will be running late and running by this field. I don't see why this horse shouldn't like the dirt. Being by American Pharoah, American Pharoah, certainly did all his work on the dirt. I know that his progeny has liked the turf better, for whatever reason that, worked out there. But, this horse's workouts over at San Luis Rey have been nice workouts. So, horse works nicely on the dirt. Just a matter if he likes it on race day. I think he's running with a pretty soft field, 6-1. We're going to make a win bet on the 10 horse Joser in the 6th race. All right, now let's recap the day and recap the tickets. Okay, so for the start of the race week over at Santa Anita for Friday, October 3rd, we've got a early pick 5 and we've got a couple win bets. So we're going to go to the early pick 5 in the first race with the 4, 6, 10, with the 2, with the 2, 5, with the 6, with the 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's an $18 ticket, so it's a small ticket. We got a couple singles. We're not going to go too big here. And then we've got the win bets. In the second race, we're going to bet the 2 horse Invincible. In the 6th race, we're going to bet the 10 horse Joser. So if you see fit and want to play as is, I wish you the best of luck. If you want to, add or subtract to that, you're welcome to, or play the pick 3s within it, or just play those win bets. Whatever you decide to do, I wish you the best of luck. Let's wish the folks over at Santa Anita a very safe day of racing. Let's wish ourselves some good luck and some good trips. We'll get some good results. So as always, I do thank you for watching Fast Horses today and listening to the picks. You can always like, dislike, make comments, make good comments, make bad comments, whatever you'd like. I promise to respond. Let's create a discussion. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed. Do appreciate that and appreciate the increased audience as well. So let's get this week started off on a winning fashion. And we will be back with more coverage from Santa Anita, the great race place for Saturday's card. Thank you very much and have a great day.